as they say. And we are here live today recording this episode. So first, I want to thank you for being a guest on the MBT movement. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Sheldon. And yeah, it's a pleasure being here. And thanks for the invite.
No, absolutely. I think the thing that I find that I really appreciate, specifically with someone of your caliber of experience and life wisdom, is you have all these specialists, all these people who have this doctorate level understanding. They understand the theory, but to actually having gone through a situation where maybe you're in the hot seat or you have life experience from your background, your upbringing. This is something you can speak very richly to. So I'm really excited to talk about your background, to talk about the book that you've also written, and to really just kind of highlight your main features and sort of your purpose in what you're doing in this phase of your life. But starting out, would you be able to fill listeners in a little bit about yourself, your background? I know based off of our last conversation, you told me a little bit about your family history, and that's something that sort of sparked the arc, more or less, to give you that inspiration to do what you're doing now. So, would you be able to fill listeners in a little bit more about what you do?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'd love to, Sheldon.
yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, for the last decade, well, not so much now, but I've always really been in some type of construction as a construction manager, new construction manager. And
yeah.
it was about 6 years ago. I live in the US right now in Denver, Colorado. My family live in Leeds in England. And every
Mhm.
time I visited back home, which was, a yearly thing, I, I was watching both my brother and my father become debilitated through other conditions. Their type 2 diabetes had caused them
Yeah.
after 15, 20 years of being type 2 diabetic.
Mm.
And it was getting very disturbing, extremely disturbing. So I wondered if I was setting myself up for type 2 diabetes. And I'll be honest, I actually wondered if it was hereditary. And as I
Mm.
started to delve into the research and studies, well, I quickly found out that type 2, not type 1, but type 2 is not hereditary.
Right.
Uh, and then I started to look at my own way of life
Mm.
and realized that it looks like I could easily set myself up for this, what I call, it's an horrendous disease.
Oh.
And so I started to delve into research and studies and taking courses and taking classes, where
Right.
at the end of that, I became a certified health and wellness coach. And I'll be honest, I don't think I had intentions to move into where I am now.
Yeah.
I just did all this to make sure I understood how to be healthy. And then I
Yeah.
started to just help friends. And before long, they were losing weight. They were heading back to the doctors who were reducing and eliminating medications for type 2 diabetes and high
Yeah.
blood pressure. So now I've absolutely developed a passion to
Yeah.
get my message out there, help people. And I'm just so glad of all the people who have come to me for help, because
Yeah.
they're now alive and thriving instead of
Mm.
surviving like they used to do.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard, Sheldon. It really isn't. I think, what makes it overwhelming and hard for people is the misinformation,
so
disinformation.
much so much information online, social media.
Mm,
One person saying one thing, another
mm,
person's going against what they're saying, another person
mm,
saying something completely entirely different. And you're right. Yeah, it is
mm.
the
Well,
abundance of
unfortunately,
information.
as
Yeah.
well, it's the same in the UK. I know it's the same
Uh,
in America. You go to your
yeah.
doctors with high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. Well, yes, you need to get on a medication instantly.
Right.
But you need to
Yeah.
be on that for the rest of your life? The answer is no, you don't.
Yeah.
Because what I've also found out over this last 6 years is that when you stop feeding the disease goes away.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
borderline
Exactly.
common sense, actually. But to add to that, it's not just nutrition and exercise,
Yeah.
as I've seemed to have been fed over the years. If you want to lose weight, count your calories and move more. Well, it
Okay.
goes way deeper than that, not just for weight loss, but for all diseases,
Right.
is the five pillars of health. And that's
Mm.
what my program is about, the five pillars of health. And it's what my book's about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my book's
I
about weight loss, but it goes through the five pillars of health.
yeah, in essence, that's sort of like the umbrella effect by integrating that system right there. I wanted to reverse rewind a little bit in our conversation. And you said that earlier on in your studies, when you're studying nutrition, health, looking into the research specific with type 2 diabetes, which we know is more or less like a lifestyle contributing factors that give to this sort of thing. What were your findings, with the trajectory you were on in your current phase of life at that time? And
Mm,
after learning what you had learned, did you realize like, whoa, I am on a crash course to destruction if I don't course
mm.
correct right now? Is that something that you came to realize? Or were you like, okay, like we're okay. We just got to make some little adjustments here. What were your findings
No,
after
no.
learning?
Well, once I discovered these five pillars of health, which is nutrition, exercise and movement, sleep quality, stress management, and being mindful of your alcohol consumption, I
Right.
had to go through my nutrition. I was one of these fast food,
Yeah.
3 meals a day and snacking in between. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work. So I
Right.
worked on my nutrition.
Okay.
Exercise and movement. Well, I've been playing soccer 3 times a week for decades now.
Yeah.
But what I did add to that was strength training,
Mm.
because that is where the glucose is stored in your muscles.
Right. Muscle
So,
glycogen. Okay.
yep. And then um, strength training, and also just making sure that on the days I don't play soccer, that I am getting, minimum of 10,000 steps in. People
Mm.
underestimate the benefits of actually just walking. And
Oh
then I
yeah.
looked at my stress levels. My job was causing me lots of stress.
Yeah.
And I've got to be honest, a lot of that stress I brought on myself.
Mm.
And then when it got to sleep quality, my sleep quality wasn't good because of the amount of stress I was under, and a lot
Yeah.
of it by myself. And then the other, at that time when I delved into this, shame to admit it, but I was drinking a bottle of wine a night.
Hmm.
So I worked on all the five pillars.
Yeah.
And now I don't drink a bottle of wine a night, I drink a bottle of wine a month.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a treat. A glass of wine for me is a treat now.
Yeah.
Um, I've sorted my stress out. One, I'm not a construction manager anymore. When
Hmm.
I got to, I think it was 65, I'm 67 now. When I got to 65, I said, that's it, I've done, I moved more in. I was doing this for 6 years, but not as a business, just helping friends and friends of friends and friends of
Yeah.
friends.
Wow.
So one could say the last 2 years I've moved into it as a so-called business.
Yeah. That is
So yeah, I
interesting.
worked on all the five pillars and it takes time, Sheldon, and
Yeah.
I think that's another thing where people get a little confused, that they get overwhelmed, they don't know where to start. And I think most people,
Right.
to be honest, are not even aware of how important these five pillars are, because
Hmm.
these five pillars do not operate independently. When
Yeah.
one weakens or is ignored, the others eventually will pay the price.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's and I want to highlight how much of a powerful and profound impact one of the specific pillars has.
Yeah.
And I can speak to this from experiences, the
Okay.
stress mental health component.
No.
Because and that's something that I think a lot of us have to have a balancing act with, is like
Mm.
when the mind isn't in the right mindset, it doesn't matter what you say or do. You have to figure out what it is that you can do to change your perspective, change your mindset, whether it's getting with a community of like-minded people that you can relate with,
Mm.
whether it's the tough part is we know that the research says that exercise is going to have the most drastic effect on changing your mood, on changing stress, on increasing feelings of well-being, these sorts of things. But when you're not in the right mindset to say, okay, like I know I need to exercise, but maybe
Mhm.
I'm in a depressive slump and I don't want to do any of that. That's the challenge, is figuring out how do you overcome that mental aspect. And then, if you are bogged down with working an 8 to 12 hour a day work
Mhm.
shift, that's a tough situation, where you got to be the provider, you got to do these sorts of
Yeah.
things. So like in an ideal situation, I want to acknowledge and say that your 5 pillar system is spot on with where most people should be. But in the reality of this day and age, where we still have people that work very labor intensive jobs just to put food on the table, this is something that we have to, I guess, gain a deeper understanding of how we can integrate this in a balanced way that continues to provide fulfillment, meaning, and purpose in one's life. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I know. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Absolutely right, which is easier said than done. That's why I think
Yeah.
you have to break these 5 pillars down. Don't
Yeah.
overwhelm yourself. Pick one pillar and
Mhm.
um, and identify your unhealthy habits in that pillar,
Yeah.
and then swap one of those unhealthy habits out, just one a week,
Yeah.
for a science-backed healthy habit. And
Right.
over the weeks and months, you've made all these healthy changes, whether it's your
Yeah.
sleep routine on an evening. And here's
Mhm.
another thing people don't understand: to get better sleep, there's an evening routine
Mhm.
and there's a morning routine. And I know most people don't do these, because
Yeah.
most people are sat on an evening watching Netflix or something until they go to bed, they switch it off. I mean, that is not the way to end your evening.
Yeah. Yeah. So creating the routines are something that are foundationally paramount. When you're working with clients, do you integrate these routines, or I guess what is your perspective of, you get someone brand new walk through, hey, what's going on?
Mm.
I heard you do great things. I'm kind of struggling right now with my life. Where would you start with that person? Do you have like an evaluation process, or is it a
Yeah, well,
conversation, or?
I always start with one, going through the 5 pillars. They
Yeah.
might say to me, "Oh, I don't drink alcohol." Fantastic. We
Yeah.
don't need to work on that. I've got a stressful job, or family or friends. I've got stress. So I
Right.
basically find out what pillars we need to work on. And it seems to me everybody needs to work on nutrition, for the
Right. Oh
simple
yeah,
reason
for
what
sure.
I
Yeah.
said: the misinformation, disinformation, deceptive packaging by food companies. People
Right.
actually think they're eating healthy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I start
absolutely.
with nutrition, and then, so maybe for a couple of a couple of weeks, just improve the nutrition a bit. Let's say, for instance, we start with that first meal of the day. Actually, we
Mhm.
start with the last meal of the day. No food 3 hours before bedtime.
Mhm.
No alcohol 3 hours before bed. Now, if you're not ordinarily doing that, to make it easier, let's just say you're snacking up to an hour before you go to bed, even drinking alcohol, because that's what a
Right.
lot of people do. That's what
Right.
I did. So rather than jump to 3 hours, let's say you do an hour. Well, then add half an hour on that, make it an hour and a half before the first week. And
Yeah.
then the second week, even if you just add another 15 minutes on, and until you arrive at 3 hours before bed, you're not snacking, you're not eating. In fact, if you have a good evening meal, which consists of quality protein, healthy fat, fiber, complex carbohydrates, you won't need to snack. That's the problem, is people are having
Yeah.
all these simple carbohydrate meals, and 2 hours later they're looking for snacks, because that's what it does. That's what
Yeah. Yeah.
right. That's what happens. So
Yeah.
again, 2 hours and an hour before bed, you've got to shut your screens down. turn your TV off. If you're not used to that, make it 15 minutes before you do it, and then
Right.
move to half an hour. Because that's why I call my book Small Steps, Big Results. It's the only way, as far as I'm concerned, to get results.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you overwhelm yourself. Oh, I've got to work on my nutrition, my sleep, my stress. Oh, this is too
Right.
much. And it
Right.
is
Right.
too much. So
Yeah.
just pick nutrition, make sure you're not doing what I said before you go to bed. And then that first meal is super important. Most people get up and they're heading straight for caffeine. They're
Right.
heading for a bowl of cereal or a bagel, a muffin, all those
Yeah.
things. What are
Starchy
just
carbs.
going to
Yeah.
spike your blood sugar up? And
Exactly.
that is not the way to start your day. That start your day where, look, anything you eat is going to do something to your blood sugar and insulin levels, but you got to make it minimum.
Right. Right.
In
Right. Right.
fact, if you have a proper meal, and here's another thing I've found out myself is don't be afraid to have what you might have for lunch or dinner for your so-called first meal. It just feels weird for people to have.
Yeah.
I mean, my first meal, I just had my first meal. What time is it now? I had it at noon because I do 16 hours fasting. That's an all different conversation. Don't jump
Right.
into 16 hours. But my first meal of today was I had a steak, a hard boiled egg, and a Greek salad,
Yeah.
and half an avocado. That's my first meal of the day. And I guarantee you, I won't be looking for snacks it's already 2 hours later. I couldn't even think of a snack. This will get me through to my last and final meal around 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I try to work on first is nutrition. And then as you move through the weeks, you can say, well, here's another great tip as well. After every time you eat food, move your body. That's part of exercise, one could say, because what it does is it can reduce your blood sugar spike up to, I've heard, 35, 38%, which is huge. So most people after a meal, they go, and I was included, oh, sit down, let me food digest.
Right.
Worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's equivalent to saying, hey, don't move after you sprain your ankle. It's like after a certain period of time, you're going to want to load the tissue to induce remodeling and healing. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think and I think this is where people get stuck, Sheldon, because they don't know what steps to take. Because the truth is, I don't see it anyway. There's no information out there about how to be healthy these days. In fact, it's the opposite. You look at billboards, you go in your supermarket, you look at advertisements on TV. It's just advertising all this food, what is not only giving adults disease, children as young as 5 years of age and teenagers are now being diagnosed with fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, weight gain, and high blood pressure. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting that you say that, how to be healthy. And you're right. A lot of the media, it's talking about do this, do that, promoting a certain product. In your perspective, how would one educate or promote how to be healthy rather than push a product? What would be sort of like your plan of attack on that sort of thing? Would it be talking about the 5 pillars, like education,
I would
or
say,
would it be?
I would honestly say, if you don't focus on the 5 pillars, you're not going to be healthy. Let's just take a hypothetical. Let's just say you want to lose weight.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, I'm going to tidy my nutrition in, and I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do all this. But if you're drinking excess alcohol, you're not going to lose weight. If you're stressed out, when you're stressed out and you're getting poor sleep, your body is releasing the stress hormone. Well, that disrupts blood sugar and it'll cause weight gain.
Yeah.
So it really is if look, you want to be healthy in today's world, self-care is the new healthcare.
That's what everyone's saying now. Yeah, that's a trending thing. Self-care.
It's the truth. It's right. It might be trending, but it is the truth. You have to educate yourself, because if you don't educate yourself, you will slowly drift into metabolic dysfunction.
Yeah, I think the other side to the coin there as well is, speaking to the example that you brought up of weight loss. This is a very common one, especially around the new year. People talk about losing weight, or people talk about, even more specifically, I want to lose 30 pounds by X date, like a very
Mm,
specific, hard,
mm,
set number. I'm not a fan of this, but I'd like to hear kind of what's your
yeah.
take on people who have this sort of goal in mind. Yeah.
Nah, you disappoint yourself. Here's what. I
Yeah.
don't think I've had one client so far who's counted calories.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had one client who's even stepped on a scale.
Mhm.
Because here's what happens. Let's hypothetical again. Say you're looking to lose weight and you start strength training, because if you do want to lose weight, I say
Right.
strength training is non-negotiable.
Right.
So in the beginning, you'll just drop all this water weight.
Right.
But once you start to develop muscle, muscle weighs more than fat. So you might see initially, I've just lost 15 pounds. Oh, it's
Yeah.
creeping up again. No, it's not creeping up. You're building muscle. You're building storage tanks for the
Mhm.
for the glucose to be stored. So
Yeah.
counting calories, all that stuff,
Yeah.
it's too Look, who wants to organize a meal and have to start calculating calories?
Yeah.
Here's
I think
here's go on, sorry.
no, 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 keep going, actually. I wanna hear what you have to say, and then I'll maybe chime
Because
in.
I
Yeah.
think here's what happens is, certainly my experience with myself and
Mhm.
clients is this 3 meal a day and snacking in between. Once you start to organize 3 proper meals, this
Mhm.
snacking will fade away.
Yeah.
So one could say you're already lowering calories.
Mhm.
And if you look at a meal, a burger, fries, and a Coke,
Mhm.
the amount of calories are in that, and you have a 3 egg scramble with some mushrooms, red pepper, and some spinach,
Mhm.
and half an avocado. That's about half the calories. So as soon as people start to eat real food,
Mhm.
they'll find the snacking stops, and the calories automatically come down. There's no need
Yeah.
to count calories.
Yeah, because really, like, the idea here is that cravings are more or less your brain signaling for a deficiency in something. For you've heard that, like, cravings for ice cream are
Yeah,
actually like a deficiency in, like, iron,
yeah,
for instance,
right,
right? So
right, right,
these
yeah.
sorts of things are,
Mm.
you kind of have to read between the lines on
Well,
that. And
and a lot of the cravings, Sheldon. Sorry for cutting you off there.
yeah, you're good.
A lot of the cravings is because people are consuming these simple carbohydrates,
Yeah,
raising the blood sugar. They instantly get some energy, like people were
yeah,
drinking sports drinks and energy drinks on an empty
right.
stomach. They have no
Yeah,
idea
it's the
what they're doing
worst.
to themselves. So
Yeah.
that raises up, and then the natural progression is you
Mhm.
crash. So
Yeah,
now you're looking, your mind just goes to these sugary things because you know it's going to bring you back up.
to super
So you,
compensate.
so
Yeah,
you're
uh-huh.
constantly like this when you should be
Exactly.
just like this.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. One straight line, slow, gradual inclines through full nutritious meals, are going to be the best thing for you.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so.
and then so what I was going to speak to earlier about the whole weight loss, the whole like 30 pounds in 3 months. I'm not a fan of it either. One, because it's sort of like you're setting yourself up for failure, like you said. The other part of it is, I like to say, okay, let's say 3 months goes by and you lose the 30 pounds. Now what? People are like, I don't know. I'll just go back to the way I was eating. Oh, okay. So you're just going to gain it back tenfold, because now you just put this metabolic burden on yourself where you lost all this weight. And now when you fill that weight back up, it's going to come back tenfold. So
Hmm.
it's more about sustainable lifestyle changes. I'm on par with
Yeah,
what you were saying about
yeah.
the 5 pillars. Is like, you want to think about this as over the course of your entire life. You don't want to think about this in terms of months, because it's much more longer than that. And you have to look at the bigger picture. What changes can you make today that are going to follow you 10, 20, 30 years down the
Hmm.
line, that you're still integrated and you're just like, this is the way I live now. I just like
Hmm.
how I feel. It feels better for me. The other piece I'll ask as well is when someone says that they want to lose weight, I like that, I like to incorporate this philosophy. It's called ask why 3 times. I want to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? Oh, because I want to feel better. Well, why do you want to feel better? Oh, well, my joints always ache and I'm always in pain. Oh, okay. So we're getting to the actual reason as to why you want to lose weight. Now the number is, it's negligible. Like it doesn't matter what that number is, as long as we can help you feel better functionally. So maybe it might just be a matter of incorporating more meaningful movement, dialing in the nutrition. You look at glimpse of, you take a glimpse of saying, hey, how are you eating right now? Okay, let's make a couple changes here. I'd like you to increase your protein intake, maybe get some more water, whatever approach you want to take. But, I feel like we're kind of like on the same line when we talk about nutrition. We're not counting calories. We're not looking at the scale. We're looking at the quality of meals and making marginal changes that make a drastic effect over the longer term, and then incorporating um, holistic strategies that optimize the lifestyle of one.
Yeah.
Decreasing alcohol consumption is going to be great because alcohol is going to stunt protein synthesis, and it's going to have a drastic effect on performance, on well-being, on mindset, on psychology, stress, mental health. This is another big one to also address. Having that holistic approach, whether it's
Yeah.
the self-care, whether it's going to see a therapist, whether it's going to do whatever you got to do to keep your mind right, practicing the community aspect, the spirituality aspect, whatever way resonates for you, incorporating the movement, incorporating the nutrition, that ties it all beautifully together. I think really your 5-pillar system is, there's many people talking about this in their own way. And I think the way you package it together is really nice and simplistic for a lot of people, especially nowadays that can get easily overwhelmed and inundated with information. All you're saying is, hey, be aware of these 5 pillars and let's make a small change. Let's make a granular change that will make a
Yep.
mountain of an effect down the line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head there with everything, because look, look, if you think of how many years, if not decades, I'm sticking with weight loss now, how many
Yeah.
years it's taken you to develop all that weight.
Yeah.
So what, you think you're going to just clear it up in a few weeks?
Yeah.
Right? So the idea is it doesn't matter whether it takes you 6 months or let's say you work a month on each pillar.
Right.
That's 5 months down the road. I guarantee you, your life, you'll have energy. You won't need afternoon naps. You'll have clarity.
You're just gonna be a better person.
Yeah. You're just gonna, you know what? You're gonna feel alive and thriving instead of
Vitality.
feeling like you're just surviving.
Exactly.
It's the long run. Because here's something to understand is that these lifestyle conditions take years, even decades, before symptoms show. So don't wait until you have a medical emergency before you start to go, oh, I need to make some lifestyle changes. Now I've had a heart attack, a stroke.
Yeah.
Do it now, especially if you have children, because this is turning into not an epidemic, it's a pandemic now of children being diagnosed with lifestyle disease. And it's obvious why. That is the mind-blowing thing. It's obvious why. It's because unknowingly the parents are feeding them all these simple carbohydrates from boxes, tubs, packets, fast food. People just don't seem to want to or eat real food anymore.
Yeah, it's it's the access. I think right now with RFK, the administration, I think he's making some really good changes.
Well, he's talking about it at least.
I'll speak to this from firsthand experience. As a parent of 3, I can see that. I can understand how parents, let's just take an average family here that, they go grocery shopping. They don't know any better. They both work very full-time jobs. They got to get the kids to school. So they look for the quick options. They put the trust in the grocery store and say, oh, I can just get this frozen box of something, put it in the microwave 2 minutes in the morning. And now my kid's got a meal to eat. And then I can send them off to school and not have to think about chefing up a whole 7-course meal just to, get my kid fed. So it's like the easy options, the convenient options, there's definitely some work we can put into that, but I think the other part of it is also like the education. Like it doesn't take a lot. If you spend a day meal prepping and just, putting things, tidying things up, you can control what you're putting in your foods. You can have it prepared, that way when you gotta grab something in the morning, it's something that that you cooked
Mhm.
in your house, knowing what's in the food. That's all we really need to do is get on the
Well,
same
that's
page
what we
in terms
need to
of
do, but people aren't doing it because we've, over the years, decades actually, we've
yeah,
slowly been indoctrinated into what you just mentioned, this instant gratification,
yeah,
uh, quick fixes. You only have to be driving home and you'll go, oh, what have I got in me? Oh, there we go. Let me pull in here.
let me
Or
pull
when
up.
I get
Yeah,
home, I'll order it,
yeah,
have it delivered. But
yeah.
yeah, and I like what you mentioned there because it's something I do is
Mhm.
prep. You don't necessarily have to prep whole meals, but
Yeah.
within my fridge, 24/7, anytime you look in my fridge, there is always roasted vegetables,
Mhm.
which is usually fresh garlic, red pepper, green pepper, onions, and broccoli sprouts. So what I can do, say for instance, if I come home, or I want my first or my second meal of the day, I can go, all right, let me put a knob of butter in a frying pan, let me
Yeah.
put some vegetables in there, let me scramble 3 eggs up, put that in there, make a 3 egg scramble with all these vegetables
Yeah.
and fiber, and then I'll put an avocado on there and some
Mhm.
pickles. I
Yeah.
mean, what did that take me? Because I already had the vegetables already roasted. We're,
Yeah.
we're talking a
5
7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say like 5, 10 minutes
Yeah,
tops.
exactly.
Is
So again, the people just want to make excuses. Now, if you're listening to this and let's just say you get up and you're running late, you've got your kids to go to school,
right.
rather than just shoveling some cereals down or even driving going to work and say, "Oh, I'll stop here and I'll get myself a bagel or a
Yeah.
muffin or something."
Yeah.
Why don't you take? Again, I've always got hard-boiled eggs in my fridge because they're
Uh-huh.
great protein, great snack. So why not take 2 hard-boiled eggs, an avocado, some cheese off the block, a handful of
Mhm.
nuts? That's going to serve you way better than swinging by a fast food restaurant. I can assure you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gonna be more cost efficient as well. It's so much
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't really realize, the cost
Mm-hmm,
savings. Like I was teaching a class at the Goodwill the other
mm-hmm,
day, and, I pull up this calculation and saying like, "Hey, like 1 week of food versus like 1 meal of food is basically what that equates to, is you can spend like a few bucks per meal or spend
mm-hmm,
a few bucks per meal cooking, prepping, and having food for the rest of the week, or a few bucks per meal going through the drive-through
mm-hmm.
3 times a day." That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's crazy. So,
Yeah, yeah, you're right because I don't know how
yeah.
many times I've had conversations with people saying, "Well, it's expensive to eat healthy." I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, it's not because if you
Yeah.
think of what you're spending on your 3 meals and
Yeah.
3 snacks,
Right.
and then you go for your sugary coffee drink
Uh-huh.
twice a day, you'll be shocked if you really calculate how much you're spending on your snacks
Mhm.
and your food, and then you minimize that down to 3 meals a day, or
Yeah.
eventually, and I mean this eventually, 2 meals a day. At the
Mhm.
end of that 2 meals, I know I'm getting 100 grams of protein, I'm getting me
Yeah.
35 grams of fiber, I'm getting healthy fats.
Uh-huh. You're meeting your daily caloric needs. That's all that matters at the end of the
Everything.
day.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting the
Yeah.
three essential macronutrients. And
Yep.
unfortunately, when you're eating fast food and processed food, you're
Yeah.
void of the three essential
Yeah.
macronutrients. And that's what slowly leads to a metabolic dysfunction. And
Yeah.
for these people, because here's a big one I think people are not really aware as um, is these sugary drinks,
Mhm.
sports drinks, energy drinks,
Yeah.
sodas. They're nothing but sugar bombs. Again,
Yeah.
raising your blood sugar for hours. And it's not just that one time, it's how often are you doing this?
Yeah.
Hour after hour, day after day,
Yeah.
week after week, month after month,
And you're not
year
playing
after
sports.
year. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people are not playing these sports, that's kind of the whole premise of sports drinks is that's where they came with Gatorade, specifically University of Florida developed this because
Prior,
of their football. Yeah,
prior,
exactly.
and I see this all the time. I used to coach kids, young kids soccer, like 10 years of age. And
Yeah.
those drinks, if you want them before your game to fuel up, I'm
Mm.
going to say, personally, when I play soccer 3 times a week, I still don't drink them. You know what I
Yeah,
have?
you don't need it. No.
2 hard-boiled eggs,
Mhm.
2 kiwis, about 20 minutes, half an hour before my game. That
Yeah.
fuels me up. And
Yeah.
it's all
Kiwi's great.
quality protein, quality
Mhm.
fat, fiber, and what's called complex carbohydrates. So if
Yeah.
you are using those drinks, then before the game, when I was coaching soccer, the kids had finished playing soccer, they'd opened the coolers and they're all drinking these sports drinks and energy
Yeah.
drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big one. Nutritionally speaking, going through drive-throughs, a lot of the fast foods, highly processed, highly starchy carbs, right? So you're over consuming the carbs again. That
Yeah.
basically fills that self-fulfilling prophecy of type 2 diabetes. You feed it with carbs. That's kind of the lifestyle factor there. The other piece of it too is, like I think about this often is the acronym Standard American Diet is SAD. That's kind of
Well,
what it is.
that's
It's
the
like
acronym, and it is. It's the only diet
yeah,
that doesn't work out there.
it doesn't work. Yeah.
It's the only one. You can pick any other diet, do it properly, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the standard. Look, it's atrocious. It's
Yeah.
absolutely. It's borderline. I'm not. Well, I do know why these food companies get away with it, but
Yeah.
that's another. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's very fascinating. With your clients that you work with, you said that you've got like they've eventually gotten themselves off of medications. Is that like a collaboration between you, the client, and then them and their medical professional?
No,
Or
I'm glad you brought this up, mate. I'm glad you
yeah.
brought this up. If you're listening to this and you're considering making lifestyle changes,
Hmm.
and you're currently on high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes,
Hmm.
is or any other chronic medication, it's important, it's imperative, and I make all my clients do it.
Hmm.
You got to go visit your doctor and let him know that you're making lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And then you need to have your blood work done.
Hmm.
So that 3 months down the road, when you have your blood work done again, that you have a point of reference of what's improved. But
Hmm.
more important than anything is, and I make sure, again, my clients do this, and I'd say, and how I make sure, I need to see a photograph of this. If you're
Hmm.
dealing with any of these conditions, you have to get a journal and you have to check your blood pressure, your blood sugars 3 times a day and
Hmm.
write it down, because I guarantee you, as you move through this journey, at some point, you won't have a choice but to go back to your doctors, because your blood sugar and your blood pressure will naturally regulate.
Yeah. They're
That's
within normative ranges.
just the law of biogenics. It's just that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you go back to your doctor, because you can see it moving, you
Hmm.
say, "Hey, doctor, I told you I was making lifestyle changes. Here's my week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever
Yeah.
week this week. Here's what they are now," and that's how my clients have had the blood pressure first, or blood pressure or medications reduced
Yeah.
and then eliminated.
Yeah.
Don't attempt to reduce them yourself. And I certainly don't tell my clients to reduce it. That's not my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is imperative
Yeah.
to do this right. Otherwise, you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, don't go cold turkey on the
Yeah,
meds just because you heard it on some podcast. That's not what you want to do. You want to
no,
make sure
that's
you're tying in
you.
your
Look, here's
doctor.
the
Yeah,
thing. If you're looking to make lifestyle changes and you're committed, first you have
right.
to commit. If you're not going
The
to commit,
mindset
you're not going to do it.
for
The
sure. Yeah,
mindset, the commitment. I want to
right,
change my life. I want to be healthy in the
right.
future. This is what I need to do. Well,
Hmm.
then what you need to do if you're on medication is log it down, keep
Hmm.
your eye on it
Yeah,
3 times a day. And when you see it moving, go back to your doctor. I've
yeah,
had I've had clients go back to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well done, mate. Well done. Let's not reduce it right now. but
Yeah.
just keep doing what you're doing and come
Yeah.
back to me when it gets to this measurement. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they go back and they usually first reduce it,
Yep.
and then they keep doing it and keep doing it. Then
Hmm.
they'll go back and eventually eliminate the medication.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the best strategy for sure. Um, I wanted to go rewind back in nutrition real quick as well and say that, like, what's your strategy? Do you have any recommendations? Like, do you have like a handout that you usually give your clients to say, here's how I want you to shop for groceries. Here's some, like you talked about, hey, in my fridge, I always have these
yeah.
vegetables. I got,
Mm.
like, what are recommendations
Yeah.
you
Well,
typically say?
recommendations are quite simple, really. But
Yeah.
one, if you go into the supermarket, make a list.
Mhm.
Don't wander in the supermarket just
Don't go
throwing things.
hungry. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
don't, yeah,
sure.
because you'll be throwing all sorts of shit in there.
Right, right.
One is shop the perimeter.
That's a
But
good one.
I
Yeah.
say, look, I say this: as long as you're getting ingredients to make your meals from real whole food.
Yeah.
And then people say to me, well, what do you mean by real whole food? Lean organic meats and chicken, wild caught fish, seafood, fruits and vegetables, beans and legumes, nuts and
Mhm.
seeds, and herbs and spices. I mean, do you
Mhm.
know how many wonderful meals you can make out of that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
avoid the simple like pasta. Just avoid it. Pasta should be a side dish if you're having pasta.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not
Even now
like
you
a
have
big
some.
bowl of pasta
Yeah.
and some bread. I mean,
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up for, well, you're just setting yourself up for a massive blood spike for hours.
Yeah, I mean, you have better options now with pastas. You have like protein dense pastas made
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
chickpeas, that sort of stuff. So there are
Mm-hmm.
more
Yeah.
alternatives to these pastas, but I agree with you. I mean,
But
really just pay
they're
attention to the
still on the
macros.
simple carbohydrate side.
Yeah. Yeah,
So again, if
absolutely.
you're addicted to pasta, try and include it as a side dish.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you educating on like glycemic index as well when it comes to
Oh
these
yeah.
carbs so that,
Yeah.
clients have an understanding of like, okay, what's a good
Mm-hmm.
carb? What's a bad
Mm.
carb? These sorts of
Yep.
things, when to
Yep.
eat
Yep.
what. Yeah.
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 Well, look, even when you get to, let's say, fruit, there's certain fruits, have a higher glycemic rate
Yeah.
than others.
Right.
One of those is pineapple,
Mhm.
bananas, grapes.
Mhm.
So be careful if you're eating those on an empty stomach because they will raise your
Yeah.
blood sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always have fruit. I include it in my meal, or I have it as a dessert afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like berries, anything what ends in berry has a low glycemic rate, which is
Mhm.
great. So again, I always have raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries in my fridge. So I've
Yeah.
got all these fruits and vegetables in my fridge. I've got protein in my freezer. I can bring out and put it in the fridge the day before.
Yeah.
If you get organized in your plan, you'll be you'll be surprised how quickly you can make a wonderful meal.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I, we spend our Sundays I mean, it doesn't have to be that long. Like we're like literally 30 minutes.
Exactly, man.
We'll Google family friendly, healthy recipe. You can Google and find a ton of different
Yeah,
things. Like, oh, I want to eat some Mediterranean. You know what type of cuisine you want to eat? Mediterranean recipes. Google it. Boom. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of recipes that you could
exactly.
try out. You can even AI it, like ChatGPT. Oh, give
Yeah,
me a 1 week meal plan for a family of 5. Boom, spits it out. There you go. Even with the recipe
yep.
itself. So
Real
there's so
food. As
many
long as
options.
as long
Yeah.
as you're making your meals out of real whole food
Yeah.
and not these package or
Yeah.
it's just it don't work. It just doesn't work. You can be
Yeah.
told what you want.
Yeah.
Science and studies have proven what is causing these lifestyle
Yeah.
diseases.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's huge. That's huge. So I'm
Mm,
glad we covered the nutrition very thoroughly. I think these are very simple strategies that people can use. It doesn't have to be
mhm.
overcomplicated, and the
Yeah.
access of information. We have access to the right information. So you don't
Mm,
have to go doom scroll on social media and get
mm,
overwhelmed. You can literally have it in your wheelhouse and say, okay, I need 3 to 5 recipes this week.
mm.
Let's find something. Get the ingredients. You'd be
Just
surprised. You probably with the spices specifically, like once you get the spices, like they're there.
oh
It's like, yeah, you
oh
gotta go to
yeah. When you
Costco,
start
spend a few
using
bucks, and then
spices, it totally turns your meal around.
yeah, yeah. So seasoning is
Yeah.
basically gonna do
Mm,
you over right. But that can be a very, very
Mm.
simple, practical approach. Nutrition doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. And there are ways that you can eat healthy, eat right, even on a budget,
Yeah,
especially on a budget. There's ways that you can do
no, I
that. So,
totally agree, mate. Some people
yeah,
have definitely got a budget, but like we mentioned there,
yeah,
once you start,
yeah,
once you stop buying fast food and all that
yeah,
food and snacking in between, just
yeah.
go to the supermarket with some meal plans,
Uh
like you
huh.
said, you plan for the week.
Yeah.
Look, in the beginning, you have to put a little bit of time and effort into it. Whereas
Hmm.
now, for me, there is no time and effort. I just,
Yeah.
it's easy.
You
I
just
don't
do.
even think about it. And if I could just throw something in here, Sheldon, it is,
Yeah.
I know people know sugar is addictive, but I don't think they really realize how highly addictive and toxic it is
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
liver. And it's
Mhm.
heavily used and cleverly hidden in today's man made foods.
Yeah.
And most people are surprised, if not shocked, when they realize how much sugar they're unknowingly consuming every day. I
Hmm.
certainly did.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that there aren't some decent process options out there, but believe me, you need to dig deep and you need to definitely learn how to read ingredients labels
Yeah. That's a
because
big one too. Yeah.
so much deception out there. I
Hmm.
mean, it might say sugar free, but there's 20 different names for sugar where,
Alternatives.
yeah,
Exactly.
where they can say sugar free, but you've
Yeah.
equally as damaging sweeteners in there. And when it
Yeah.
says organic and fat free,
Yeah.
believe me, it's not healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. Read between the lines. Read the lines, especially. Don't feel shame for taking a box off, taking two boxes off the shelf, and then standing in the middle of the aisle and reading the ingredients. I mean, maybe have a bit of courtesy and stand to the side, but like read the ingredients, like educate yourself. And the more you read the labels, the more it
Right.
becomes second nature, just like cooking, just like anything that you got to learn,
Yeah.
right? There's a learning curve. Once you overcome it, the grass is so much greener
Mm.
once you get to the other side. So
Right. And certainly these seed oils everyone seems to be cooking in.
yeah. Yeah.
Canola, corn, safflower,
Yeah.
sunflower,
Mhm.
rapeseed.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I'm led to believe, and I've heard it so many times by a lot of doctors I follow, that it's more damaging than sugar. And where do we
Mm.
find all these inflammatory seed oils? That's right, fast food and processed food.
Mhm.
People have no idea what they're consuming.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, you kind of have to have like not like a PhD in chemistry, but a lot of these, like when these oils are superheated, used for like frying these sorts of things, they become even that much more carcinogenic.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
it. Yeah.
seed oils, they create aldehydes once they get
Mhm,
to a high
mhm.
temperature, and then aldehydes are basically carcinogenic, right? So you can get these sorts of cancers through an overconsumption or through a superheating of these oils over a
Yep.
long period of time. So yeah, definitely tread
There's
lightly,
there's
on that
so
stuff.
much to know.
Yeah.
There really is. There's so much to know, and I think that is that's probably the biggest part of the problem. There's
Yeah.
just so much to know within each of these pillars. There's so many,
Mhm.
let's call them little tips and tricks
Yeah.
that
These
if
are
you're not aware of, you're not aware of it. You're not gonna
yeah,
like walking after a meal. Most
right.
people are not aware how beneficial that is.
Yeah. But again, it comes back to like the small steps, right? So it's like, I'm not going to tell you to go for the organic option if you're clearly on a budget and if
Mhm.
you're eating out 7 days a week. I think by far, if you're shopping conventional in a grocery store and no longer eating fast food, like that's a win. Okay.
That is
Clean
a
your fruits and
massive,
vegetables,
massive
right?
win. And
Yeah.
that's right. Look, I buy organic. However, when I get them
Yeah.
home, I wash them in baking soda
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes vinegar because
Mhm.
that helps reduce the pesticide. So if
Yeah.
you even, I say, even if you are buying organic or you're not organic, don't,
Yeah.
you're wasting your time washing it underwater. You're just
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little things like that,
But
and
I think it comes back to just those little changes, and you're gonna learn these little tips and tricks along the way. It's like you're starting out level 1 and you're trying to take a level 100 worth of information. It's like, no, start at level 1. You're no longer eating fast food and you're shopping conventional and you're already noticing a change in your health.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Well,
What
yeah.
are some other things that I could do? Okay, maybe I might try this organic thing, or maybe I might try do this thing. Like you're going to level up in time
Right.
over the course of the
Well,
lifespan that you live. So that's the biggest one
right.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
And just loading on what you said.
Yeah.
If you just focus on your nutrition and you slowly start making your first meal and then your second meal and then your third meal from real whole food,
Yeah.
within weeks, you're going to have more
Yeah. For
energy.
real. Hmm.
You won't be needing the afternoon naps,
Yeah. Less brain fog.
less
Hmm.
brain fog. I've
Yeah.
even seen skin conditions
This is
clear up.
true. Yeah. Actually, that's a
Yeah,
big one.
skin
Hmm.
conditions clear up. I mean, you'll
Yeah.
quickly start to uh, feel and see the benefits, and I think that's
Hmm.
what really spurs people on.
Yeah.
They go, oh wow, I didn't realize this, and okay, let me now go to my sleep pillar. Let me go to
Yeah. Yeah.
my alcohol pillar because it
It
drives
trickles
you on.
over.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's got a
Yeah.
trickle effect on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I wanted to talk about as well is the pillar of movement. This is a big one for me as well. But I'd love to hear your perspective and your approach when it comes to movement. How are you integrating this for clients that maybe are uneducated or maybe are already active? Like, what is your approach and perspective on movement?
Yeah, so, well, one, it's extremely important. It's
Yeah,
borderline non-negotiable. So,
for sure.
depending on where my client is, let's just say they've led a sedentary life and they're telling me they've led a sedentary life. I
Yeah,
say, okay, well, let's not overwhelm you here. After every
right.
meal, go for a walk.
Hmm.
When you go places, maybe you go to your office building and you work on the fourth floor. Walk the stairs
Hmm.
instead of taking the elevator. When you go to the supermarket, go to the far end of the, just be conscious of getting more steps in.
More
So
steps. Okay.
once they start to build on the steps, and that might take them a while,
Yeah.
even if you're on the phone. If I get a phone call, well, actually, it's very rare I even sit down, even when I'm in my own home, believe it or
Yeah.
not. I'm constantly doing something. But
Yeah.
if you're at home and your phone rings, you don't have to sit in the chair. Why don't you just pace around your house?
Right. Yeah. I love doing
It's
that actually.
about getting steps in.
Hmm.
And then once they've started to, and again, get your ledger out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, log your
Yeah.
steps, get a pedometer, get a smartwatch. Be
Right.
curious, how many steps am I getting in?
Hmm.
And then let's hypothetically say that week you first do it, you're only getting 5,000 steps. Say, okay,
Hmm.
got to step it up. Just consciously move more.
Yeah.
And then once they've started to move more, then I introduce them into strength training, which seems a little overwhelming. Now, the thing is, you don't need a gym membership. You don't need any of that. You
Right.
can do. You can start by doing some push-ups off the
Hmm.
wall,
Hmm.
doing some push-ups off the counter. Then
Yeah.
when you've got used to them for a week, drop on the floor and do as many as you can. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's 5,
Hmm.
because the next day you'll do 6, and then
Hmm.
before you know it, it's one of the first things I do when I get up on the morning. I hydrate, I do a few warm-up push-ups off my countertop, then I drop down and I'll do 30 of them.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I'll do that 3, 4 times a day.
Okay.
Mainly after I've ate food, again, because you're
Yeah.
using your muscle, you're burning your thing. So just start to do that. But here's the thing, whether you're exercising or whether you're not, let's just go through the benefits of exercise. And if this
Hmm.
doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will.
Right.
One, it regulates your blood sugar.
Hmm.
It improves insulin sensitivity, which both of them are super important.
Hmm.
It helps lower your blood pressure. It reduces your triglycerides. It'll
Hmm.
raise your HDL, the good cholesterol. It'll support fat loss. It strengthens your heart and your lungs. Look, and it don't even stop there. Movement
Hmm.
improves your mood, your focus, and it strengthens your immune system, and it
Okay.
helps regulate stress, and it improves your sleep quality. So,
Hmm.
based on all that, why wouldn't you at least try to implement more movement and exercise in your day?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because movement, it really is your metabolic currency.
hmm That's the key word there is movement. Like there's a lot of people that have this stigma behind exercise. They think of it in a traditional sense or a formative sense where they have to go into a gym and work out. It's like, no, dude, like what do you like doing? Let's start there. What do you like doing that incorporates movement?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay. You
that's
got a
it. Yeah.
pickleball league? That's great. Yeah, keep doing that then. Like that's your movement,
Right.
right? And then sprinkle on some extra things that maybe could be
Yeah.
helpful, but don't make it overwhelming where it's like, okay, you got to go to here's your exercise program. I need you in the gym 3 days a week for 2 hours a session. And you got to start with this. That can be too much. That can be too much.
I
love
agree
your
with you, mate.
approach.
That is too much. Like you said,
Yeah.
find something you enjoy. You know what I did? Even though I played soccer for decades now, I tried all sorts of things. You just try different things. If you
Yeah,
go
that's
onto
a good one, man.
Amazon
Yeah.
and you put at-home exercise equipment,
Yeah.
you've got the gamut there.
That's
Right,
a
like
lot,
you
though.
said, try
Yeah.
things because you're not going to do something if you don't enjoy it. I
Yeah.
love playing soccer, and believe it or not, I love walking now
Uh-huh.
because I can.
Yeah.
If I've got a long conversation on the phone, I'll go for a walk. I walk after every meal. I'm just constantly walking. I find excuses to go walk.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Even if I'm listening to a podcast, what's the point of sat in my chair at home listening to a podcast when I can go for a nice walk?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In fact, it's not
Simple.
often I don't get 20,000 steps a day now.
Oh, wow.
I'm constantly moving around, constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And I think that just goes really, really well in line with your brand. Your brand's simply health conscious. That's all it is. We're just building conscious awareness to
Exactly.
these simple, practical strategies that we could do to live a healthy life. That's it.
And just become health conscious. Become,
Yeah.
say to yourself, it's a question I ask a lot. What do you want your health to be like in 10, 15, 20 plus years from now?
Yeah.
Alive and thriving or just surviving?
Mhm.
Because it's up to you. We actually have the choice of that outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
We really
Through these
do.
little changes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With so with everything you built up to this point and with what you're continuing to pour into this project of Simply Health Conscious, what would you say is like your legacy or something that you would want to leave behind after you're gone, with all the work that you're putting into this? Have you thought about that? Is that something
No,
you
I
think
don't,
about?
to be honest, not really.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just trying to get my message out to as many millions as I can. And what I've been doing over the last 6 months, I joined Toastmasters, National
Yeah.
Speakers Association.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is my first day of a 3-day speaker boot camp.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so I want to
Yeah.
get out there. I just want to get my message out there. You
More
don't need
speaking
to
rounds,
live
yeah.
with these chronic illnesses. You don't
Yeah.
need to be setting your children up for these chronic illnesses. Life is
Yeah.
precious. Don't
Yeah.
throw it away because
Yeah.
you can't be bothered.
Yeah, don't be asleep to the drone of the machine. We can all make our own choices mindfully, intentionally to live the best life that we choose to live. So,
And again, in people's defense, there is no education out there. There's nothing
Yeah.
but misinformation, disinformation. That is why we have what's going on.
Yeah.
So wake up, people.
yeah,
Wake up.
yeah. Right on, Graham. Well, I really do appreciate this conversation. Again, I can't thank you enough for joining me on this episode. I think we talked about a lot of really moving concepts, principles, philosophies. We gave a lot of good information. I hope for listeners, this was very practical and insightful, because it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to doom scroll to the abyss to just find nothing. Like you can just make these small choices. And I think that's really what we wanted to speak to with the content of this episode. But yeah, thank you again for joining. Before we fully sign off here, would you be able to give a shout out to where people can find you if they want to get in touch, your socials? I'm also going to be adding this in the show notes as well. So anyone that wants to get in touch, be sure to check those out as well. But if you could let listeners know.
Yeah, I mean, I can make this real simple,
Sure.
Sheldon. If you go to my website, which is simplyhealthconscious.com,
Hmm.
simplyhealthconscious.com, you'll find all my social media links. You'll find my website full of information about the 5 pillars of health. You'll find a link and a QR code to my book, which is available in paperback and also on Kindle.
That's already available, right? As well.
That's already available, and
Awesome.
you can also find my email if you'd like a one-on-one, complimentary consultation.
Mhm.
Yeah, just go to my website, and you'll find lots of it. You'll find some social media videos on there. So yeah, you'll find anything to do with me and Simply Health Conscious at simplyhealthconscious.com.
Awesome. Simplyhealthconscious.com. Thank you again for joining me on this episode. And thank you all for listening to this one. And I'll see you all in the next one.
Thank you, Sheldon.